let's jump over to this. Texas offense versus Georgia defense. Let's be honest here. Georgia's defense won this handily last year. I believe Texas gave up 28 sacks on the season. 15 of them were to Georgia, and they held us to 1.4 yards per carry. So you guys dominated this matchup last year. My question for you is, who is the next great Georgia defensive lineman? Not the guys that we know of like the Christian Miller, but who's that guy coming up that could be like a freshman or a sophomore that hasn't popped off yet?
Oh, well, his name is Elijah Griffin, and he's a true freshman. Yeah, I think that would be that was definitely the first guy that popped into my head in terms of like who's going to be like, yeah, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter type. Elijah Griffin has already become something of a folk hero in his short time in Athens. I believe it was Warren Brinson who was watching him in the spring, and he was like, oh my God, he's Jalen Carter. Like, again, like this is just Jalen Carter too. Yeah, this kid is an athletic freak. One of those kids that you just look at him and you're like, what are they feeding you? Crazy speed. It's tough to project these true freshmen, especially on the defensive line, such a physical position that Georgia rotates out so often anyway. So like, we don't know how much he's actually going to see the field, but if we're to believe what we've heard throughout this spring and summer, it's going to be pretty hard to keep him off the field. So I would, that's definitely like, of all the freshmen, I think on the team, that's probably the guy that I'm most anticipating.
Yeah, and me and Bo talk about it a lot. Like, there's certain guys I just don't like comparing people to. Like, after Brock Bowers, Georgia fans been obsessed with tight end forever. And after Brock Bowers, like, this guy could be the next Bowers. It's like, guys, we're not having another Bowers. Like, that's it. That's the only time a tight end should lead us in receiving. Jalen Carter is kind of like one of those guys for me. It's like, he was just so damn good. It's hard for me to say the next guy is going to be someone like Jalen Carter, especially as a true freshman. Like, maybe he is a star, but maybe he doesn't do it in 2025. I'm hoping he does for sure. And yeah, the fact that someone like Warren Brinson, who played with a guy like Jalen Carter, is saying that's definitely carries some weight. But that's what's so interesting about this Georgia defensive line. Like you said, Christian Miller is the most proven one on it, but there's just so many unproven guys in this group right now. I feel like Jordan Hall is a guy that Georgia fans have been waiting on for multiple years. He just hadn't been able to stay healthy. And then Joseph Jonah Janye, I feel like he's either a sophomore or a redshirt freshman. Did he play at all last year?
Because see, that was kind of my thought with like not getting too ahead of myself with hyping up Elijah Griffin, because Joseph Jonah Janye also came in with a ton of hype and was a 5-star, and he just disappeared. Like I forgot he existed until like week 6 when I was looking at the roster. I was like, wait, where the hell did this guy go? So that's
that other 5-star defensive lineman we signed. Yeah. Like, you just kind of forget about him.
So many guys that are unproven on this defensive line. I think Jordan Hall is in line for a pretty good season if he can stay healthy. He's just never been healthy, but like, he's a really talented player. And but Christian Miller probably is going to be the best player on, like, I think that's the safest bet for the best player, but biggest X factor for me is definitely Elijah Griffin. That could really, he could change the whole interior defensive line if he, does that thing that Georgia has sometimes where it's like they just have a true freshman go insane. That happens sometimes with them. So
Isaiah Gibson's the other one, right?
Isaiah, he's the edge rusher though. Yeah. And then Xavier McLeod, the South Carolina transfer, he's probably one of the guys who played the most snaps that's going to be back. And he flashed. And
he was pretty. He had a weird like foot thing, I think, that kept him out of some games. But he did show some stuff last year.
It's the edge rusher is definitely, I think, what we're most concerned about.
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
I was dreading you getting there. I don't hate that. Yeah, y'all are probably licking your jaw, not having to think about Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams anymore, because. Yeah, I mean, like, this is not the first time Georgia's had a lot of talent, move on to the NFL. That's just kind of what comes with the territory when you're a big program. But they're usually a little more stocked with younger guys that are kind of ready than they are right now on the edge.
I think so, and I think there's always like one or two like consensus first-round picks. Like, everyone knew Malachi Starks was going to be a first-round pick. Everyone knew Mykel Williams was going to be a first-round pick. I think more people in the know knew that Jalen Walker was about to break out, but he hadn't really done it until 2024. but it's like every year there's like a couple. Tate Ratledge was getting kind of All-American hype. Like every year, Georgia at least has a 2 or 3 guys. You're like, yeah, there's like guaranteed first-round picks. And it doesn't really look like that on the team on this roster right now. And it's so weird too when you talk about Texas, because last year was Georgia's worst run defense of Kirby Smart's tenure. I think they gave up 128 on the. They gave up
maybe
if not more. They gave up almost the same amount of yards they ran for. It's like the worst rush offense they've had ever. And then they gave up like over 120 on the ground. I know 2018 they gave up over 120 on the ground.
Like 200 rushing yards against them.
Yeah, there was like 5, 6 straight games that they gave up like 150 yards or something like that. And then the 2 games against Texas, they give up 60 combined in those 2 games. It was the weirdest thing. Their defense did not play dominant at all last season, except for when they played Texas.
It was really unfortunate for.
You don't think so? Like, you don't have to lie.
Man. Like
you don't have to lie.
Like that whole the whole Georgia, we really did feel. I mean, obviously, Georgia ended up winning the SEC, but the whole year it kind of felt like Georgia was terrible. And then they played Texas, and it was like, oh wait, this is the team with 5 first-rounders on its defense. Last year was really weird.
They played 6 games against college football playoff teams, right? Am I doing that, Matt? No. 4 games against college football playoff teams. Went 4-0. Like blasted Clemson early in the season too. Beat Tennessee and beat Texas twice. And then we're sitting here like, are we even good? Like I don't know. I got blasted by Ole Miss. Like barely beat Kentucky. Like it was just such a weird year.
Strange year. But yeah, back to the edge rusher thing, because like I think that is probably the single worst position group on the team. Really, Matt, you might have another. There might be one that's slipping, but I really do think, I mean, it's what, like, Elo Madozi might be the guy who's, like, the defense will hinge on his performance the most. Because if he can come in and provide some juice as a pass rusher and be a 6-7 sack guy, that would be, that would really solve a lot of their question marks. But like, if he can't do that and Georgia just can't rush the passer, it's him and Gabe Harris. And, then they're just Schumann's having to blitz all the time to get pressure. Like that really could change a lot. And that could really hurt Georgia's defense. So like, I don't know how good this edge group is just because they're unproven. Elo Madozi coming off a very good season for Army, but now it's the SEC ball. We just don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Quintavious Johnson is a redshirt freshman. A lot of people hype up. I mean, he's like 6'4", I think like 265, and he like played quarterback in high school and stuff. Like, so he's just supposed to be like a crazy athlete. But he didn't really play at all last year. I don't know about you guys. I'm a vibes guy myself. And Gabe Harris went from number 29 to number 0 this offseason. So I don't know. I feel like those are big things. I think he's switching to a single digit. That means he's a playmaker. No, but Gabe Harris
is gotta be a baller to wear a 0.
That's what I'm saying. So, but that's a very inexact science. I think Gabe Harris is the guy who played the most snaps of any of the returning edge rushers. But yeah, with Jalen Walker going to the pros and Damon Wilson to Missouri, like that's the position I'm the most worried about. The one thing, like caveat for that is like the inside linebackers might be the best position group in all of college football. Like I feel like Georgia's inside linebackers are going to be just 4 deep with just studs. And I think you're going to see a lot of Justin Williams and a lot of Chris Cole as like that third line inside linebacker on the field that's rushing the passer and things like that. Because I mean, CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, it'll be hard to unseat those returning starters, but all of the hype in the spring is around the redshirt, or I guess sophomores. Justin Williams hardly played at all. He might be a redshirt freshman.
I think he's played just enough. He appeared in games and just didn't play.
So,
much.
But yeah, all the hype in that linebacker room is about the 2 second-year guys and Chris Cole and Justin Williams.
Yeah, my hot takes about Georgia's defense is I think by the end of the year, Chris Cole is going to be their best player. I mean, that guy is insane. Y'all saw it. They trusted him against Gunnar Helm, like almost one-on-one as a true freshman in Austin, and he made him disappear. Like Chris Cole is an unbelievable player. I mean, he's a converted safety. So and you can kind of see that in his coverage instincts, but he's also like really quick and, has good size and is like kind of shown some growth as a pass rusher in the last year or so. So it's like, if he keeps developing the way that he's been developing, I think he's going to be the best player in Georgia's defense by the time he's a sophomore, by the time he's finishes with sophomore year.
Do you guys remember Alec Ogletree?
Yeah. Played for the Rams.
Yeah, I was a huge Alec Ogletree fan. I feel like I just get Alec Ogletree vibes. Like he was like a safety linebacker, just crazy athlete, long. Like I feel like Chris Cole kind of reminds me of him.
There's been a couple of those. Thomas Davis too, although I guess he didn't move to linebacker till the NFL. But
yeah, would have loved to see Alec Ogletree in a Kirby defense.
That would be sick, dude. But yeah, and then I guess we can talk about the DBs a little bit too. I'll start with Dalen Everett, who played very well against Texas last year in both games. I think he had 4 total takeaways. He's probably I'd say, Matt, I think he's probably the best returning DB that they have. Malachi Starks and Dan Jackson are going to be 2 pretty big losses in the safety room. They have KJ Bolden stepping in, who is a baller and he's going to be a star, but also, that on-field leadership that Malachi Starks provided, I used to always see him getting guys lined up and barking out stuff. They're going to really miss that. But yeah, and then next to Dalen Everett at corner, I guess it's going to be a battle between Ellis Robinson and Daniel Harris. Matt, who do you think is the better player there?
He's a redshirt. Ellis Robinson's like the 5-star guy. That
it was like number one player in the country by some. And I think it just disappoints fans when the number 1 player in the country doesn't get on the field right away. It pisses me and my brother off all the time. I'm like, whenever we don't get one of these guys that's from Georgia, Caleb Downs, whoever, they're superstars from day one, and it really pisses me off. But obviously Georgia's gotten their fair share, so no one's crying for us. But
Georgia never gets good players.
No, Georgia can't get 5 stars. Daniel Harris is the one I feel like everyone is ready to lose the job because of Ellis Robinson being that highly ranked player. But Dalen Everett was out for the spring with an injury. So, but according to everybody, Daniel Harris was clearly the best corner on Georgia's team over the spring. So this dude's 6'3", 6'4", just an insane athlete at corner. And he got that targeting, that huge hit against Florida, and they called targeting, but they picked it up.
Right. Yeah, that was him.
But yeah, I mean, he can hit too. I feel like Daniel Harris is kind of taking his game to the next level. So as much as I want to see Ellis Robinson, and granted, maybe we see Jeremiah Smith, we'll throw it at Ellis Robinson, because I know in those camps he was supposedly one of the only guys that could guard him. I don't know. That was a long time ago. That was high school. But that's a long way away. We don't even play Ohio State, but I don't know. Just looking at Georgia's DBs, I think KJ Bolden, like you said, I think that's probably, if I'm picking a guy on Georgia's defense, it's the best candidate to break through and be an All-American, because we're kind of talking there's a lot of unproven guys. KJ Bolden kind of feels like that guy that could take the next step. And once again, another 5-star safety that's in his second year. So, and then at the star position, that nickel corner Georgia plays, Jonel Aguero, I feel like he kind of locked that spot down last year. He's had his problems staying healthy. But outside of Jonel Aguero, I mean, who's next guy at star?
Honestly, man, I was just kind of thinking this just now, and I haven't really thought this out that well. But I wonder what the chances are if towards the end of the season, if they just decide they just want to have their 5 best DBs on the field, if they just put Robinson at outside corner and then kick Daniel Harris to star. Because I feel like I know he's never played there, but I really feel like he could. Because he's built for it.
Star does feel more like that safety kind of hybrid. So it does have to be a guy that's a good tackler. I don't know if Daniel Harris is that. I feel like Jonel Aguero seems like the perfect, Javon Bullard. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I have dreams at night about Javon Bullard. I just miss him in Georgia's star position so much. Just making DBs just getting in the backfield, making plays in the run game. Just it excites me.
It was dope.
That's how we're gonna feel about Jahdae Barron. Texas fans are gonna feel about Jahdae Barron at that start.
Jahdae Barron went crazy against us, man.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is good now, so we're not celebrating an injury or anything. But I mean, Javon Bullard doesn't make that hit on on Marvin Harrison Jr., then Georgia doesn't win that Peach Bowl against Ohio State. But on a got off topic there, but Jonel Aguero feels like that perfect kind of physical slot corner that they want, and I think he got ejected for targeting against Texas, right? In the first game. But I think you're going to have a transfer starting in the secondary opposite KJ Bolden, whether it's Zion Branch, Zachariah Branch's brother from USC. Like me and Bo have said before, he got number 2, so I don't know if that says something of how good he is, but
we have a lot of jersey number theory.
And then there's the UAB transfer and the Miami transfer, 3 safeties that Georgia
Adrian
brought in.
Maddox and Trey Harris. Yeah, I'll be like Kirby Smart was never too complimentary of those guys throughout the spring even when he kind of had every opportunity to be. And, he's particularly hard on safeties because, he played safety himself, I guess. So, like, I do find it kind of concerning that by this point, like, there has been really, unless I'm just not, maybe I just don't know enough. And I definitely don't because I'm just some guy talking. But like we don't have a lot of public information about a guy who's really emerged to take that other safety spot. And I think that is interesting. I think it's worth thinking about because like their safety room was probably one of the top 3 in college football last year. And it might just not be very good next year if one of those transfers can't really lock down the job. Next to KJ Bolden. We know KJ Bolden is probably going to be very good, but then they're an injury away from being like, what is this,
I mean, yeah, in 2023 and 2022, I mean, that secondary it's ridiculous how much talent it's had in it. So it's going to be a little different this year, but at the same time, like you've seen J.R. Reed be a first-team All-American and then did he go undrafted? Was he 7th rounder, go undrafted or something?
Yeah,
so Dominic Sanders was like the all-time leader in picks, and granted, he only had 2 of his years with Kirby, but all-time leader in picks, and that guy, I don't think he got drafted either. So it's like I feel like I just trust Kirby Smart with safeties and defensive backs, regardless of who's back there.
Georgia and Kirby Smart, like one of those teams that they're going to have a guy, regardless of who it is. We may not be talking about him. They may be a kid that we never heard of. Who like it's kind of like Oklahoma softball. I said it for years up until this year, right? Until Georgia is not playing for the SEC championship, that they're going to have dudes, right? I'll believe it when I see it. They're going to have dudes, and the day that they don't is the day that I'll believe it because they're going to have guys. Like it's not a question in my mind.
Yeah, we just don't know the names right now, but it feels like I would be willing to bet we're gonna see some really good players.
Yeah. You don't stack classes like that and not.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, I'm nervous because we usually do know the names, so I'm a little uneasy.
Thing, man. It's just overall a much younger team across the board.
Oh, did we lose Gerald?
Gerald, no.
I think we lost him for a second. He'll be back though. But yeah, I think it's interesting because you guys don't really know on your defensive line and then our offensive line. I know mostly who I trust in on the offensive line, but it's definitely a question for us. Our left guard, Neto Umuluzulu, he's going to be his first year playing. The other 4, I feel pretty confident. Like I thought Trevor Gooseby versus you guys last year in the SEC championship game played pretty well. I didn't think he was bad at all. Let me see if I got him back. But I think he'll be fine. Devon Campbell at right guard is the guy that I just need to live up to the hype. Coming out of high school, he was the number 1 interior offensive lineman. I think he might have just been the number 1 offensive lineman, period. And he hasn't really lived up to that at right guard. Wide receiver is interesting because up until today, I didn't know who the 3 starters were. And then Sark had an interview with Greg McElroy. And he came out and said today it's going to be Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and Emmett Mosley. The third one is the one I didn't know about. Emmett Mosley, I knew was in the rotation at number 3, but it seems like those are the 3 front starter guys. So that was very interesting to learn. And then the running back room, I think Gerald would agree with this too. Like super talented. Like we have 5 to 6 guys in there that can really go. But our top, in my opinion, our best 3 are probably Wisner, Baxter, and then I think Christian Clark's the most talented of the whole room, in my opinion. But the problem is Baxter coming off an MCL, PCL, LCL injury, and then Christian Clark tore his Achilles. So I don't know about that room right now.
So Baxter tore all 3 in one injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Wow.
they had some really bad injuries running back.
His girlfriend played on a bum knee though. What's his excuse? His girlfriend won a national championship on a bum knee.
I think I remember. Did Rodney Harrison do that in the Super Bowl? I think tore all 3 or something. Oh,
I think he did. Yeah. And then Terrell Owens played on the broken leg in the same one, I think.
Phillip Rivers played on like a torn ACL one time. Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah, I mean, we've seen firsthand of some guys that are superstar running backs, a Zamir White or something, that they come after that ACL, they didn't look like they had the same juice afterwards.
Yeah. And I think, guys, we're talking running backs. Like, I think my issue with the Texas running back room is like they don't have a second pitch, for lack of a better term. Like all the running backs are very similar. Where Sark likes to run outside zone. He wants a guy who can kind of bang, between the guard and tackle in that B or C gap. But like they don't have the guy who's going to break off a big explosive run. The guy. Trey Wisner, the guy who last year is probably the closest to that out of all of them. He's not a game breaker by any and again, I feel like I trash on Trey Wisner and I have to put this caveat. Trey Wisner was a 3-star running back that put the team on his back and rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Like, do not hear me speaking ill of Trey Wisner.
Do people talk?
He's really good.
Talk bad about Trey Wisner?
So he might be talking about me.
Player.
Because I say this, and I stand by it. He is not a number 1 running back on a national championship team. He's just not. If you look at the history of the last 10 years, Wayne Gallman is the worst running back. And no offense, Wayne Gallman's a better running back than Trey Wisner. But I don't hate Trey Wisner. He's a very good running back.
Yeah, I just feel like I have to put like an asterisk anytime I talk about the running back room and Trey Wisner. Because Trey Wisner was great for Texas last year. He was also a 3-star kid who may or may not have stayed in the class to keep his cousin in the class, right? That's part of the conversation around Trey Wisner. The kid should never have to buy a beer or a meal in Austin again, period. End of sentence. 1,000-yard rusher, was not expected to be RB1, came into a crappy situation. But we look at Texas red zone abilities last year. If they have CJ Baxter versus Trey Wisner, different body type, different running style. CJ Baxter can get you 2 yards when you need it in a national semifinal game, right? You don't have to throw a toss to the fastest safety in college football, right? That's the thing. So that is my big question. Is CJ Baxter going to be healthy? And who is Texas's second pitch? Because they're all kind of the same guy.
Well, and then if you say Jarrett Gibson, like I said, Christian Clark is our third best. If you say Jarrett Gibson is our third best, that dude fumbled every 10 carries. In the Georgia or Florida game, I think he fumbled 3 times. So unless that gets solved, and I'm not big on that either, because if you look at the history of running backs that have fumbling issues, they usually don't get much better. I know Adrian Peterson had that issue, and he still kind of had it his whole career. And guess what?
Over that.
Yeah, guess what? You put up with it because he's one of the 7 best running backs of all time. Jaden Blue had that issue, and he's not one of the 7 best running backs of all time. So guess what we did with him? He sat on the bench, and then when we needed someone to catch a pass, that's when we used him. And guess what? He was phenomenal versus Ohio State, because guess what Ohio State's weakness was? Running backs out of the backfield, and he was great in that game. But that's not every team's weakness. It wouldn't be your guys' weakness this year because your inside linebackers are freak shows. So, yeah, we need to find out a running back that can hold on to the ball, break a couple tackles, and then also be explosive. I think that's the thing of Trey Wisner. He's not very explosive. CJ Baxter can be explosive and it can run over guys, but is he going to be healthy? He just got cleared 2 weeks ago. So maybe by the time the Georgia game comes around, he'll be ready to go full force. But by the time Ohio State, I don't think he's going to be full force.
Well, that's what's so interesting about talking about how they match up with Georgia, because I would have said last year they matched up well with Georgia because Georgia wasn't good against the run, and then Georgia somehow stopped the run better against Texas than anyone else. But I don't want to just derail the whole show, but I feel like you seemed very specific. Top 7 running backs. I want to know who your top 7 are now.
Okay, so this is going to be out of order, but Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, Emmitt Smith. All right, so those are my 5. Maybe he's top 5. Maybe I'll have him as 5. I'm missing.
Are you missing anybody egregious? I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to think.
Edgerrin James,
torn ACL, one MVP.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe an old school guy, Jim Brown or something.
So Kane the Diesel Freak, I know we have beef, but thank you for the $5. Defense wins titles, and Ohio State and Georgia do it damn good, and they know how to handle business. I mean, I don't disagree with that. So,
I mean, that's that. Ohio State's defense and Georgia's defense are the reason why Texas didn't win either of the trophies they played for last year, right? Like Georgia absolutely embarrassed Texas's offensive line and quarterbacks and all of that. And I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's kind of my phrase that pays. Like Caleb Downs is what I call a blue shell kind of player, right? Mario Kart reference. Like he is a guy who can change the complexity of a game with one freaking play. And he did that, right? Texas threw a toss at him. He blew it up in the backfield. Next play, scoop and score touchdown and the game's over, right? So like you are absolutely right. Like that's my big concern, continues to be like, that's why I don't feel like super comfortable about Ohio State, because they have a blue shell guy on either side of the ball, right? Caleb Downs. And then they've got one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the country, on the other side, right? There are people in the SEC that may have things to say about that, but when push comes to shove, right, they've got one of those guys on either side of the ball. But this isn't an Ohio State preview, Georgia.
Yeah, and
I
the
think
thing
he's
is,
a top 6 freshman wide receiver of all time.
hey, I got specific because I don't want to mess it up. I like to be specific with this.
Yeah,
But
you gotta be precise.
yeah, exactly. So that's the thing too. Like I always point out the stat because I think it's not funny to us Texas fans, but it is funny. So 2 years ago, Iowa was 89th in red zone scoring. Texas was 90th 2 years ago. And I said, we can't be worse than Iowa again. Oh no, now last year we were 113th. So we were terrible.
Wow.
And that's the thing, unless that gets solved, and I said this halfway through last year, if the running game, red zone, which are one and the same, don't get solved, this team's not winning a national championship. And that goes for this year as well.
And are those the only 2 teams that held Texas below 20 points all season?
A&M did 17-7.
Oh, okay.
Let's be honest here, though. We that was us. That had nothing to do with A&M. We got down there multiple times. We could not do anything.
A&M had a good
weird
defense.
one.
They did a salty defense last year. Their defensive line was pretty salty. Had a couple of guys drafted.
That game should have been 30-0. I'm still pissed.
Fair.
At that.
So there are some
And maybe with Arch, with that running dynamic, with the quarterback, maybe that improves the red zone offense a little bit.
I'm hoping.
I'm excited to see what Sark will do with that.
That's
just a dimension you or something have.
That, and then Jack Endries, Gerald knows, I think he's going to have the best season in the history of Texas football at the tight end position. I believe that. That's my opinion on it. That's my bold. That is my hottest of hot takes.
Who currently holds that title?
That would be a debate between multiple guys.
Finley?
Yeah. David Thomas, I know, gets thrown in there as well. Those are probably the 2 fighting for it. They did different things. Like Jermichael Finley's a much better athlete than David Thomas, but David Thomas was all reliable. That guy was Jason Witten. It's like comparing Jason Witten to Antonio Gates. They all did different things. So, but I think
Michael Finley's a great name drop, by the way.
That's
a good one.
I'm the resident old. I was on campus with Jermichael Finley. It's fine. It's all
there.
Good.
You go.
Dude, he was a good player. He played in the league a long time.
Yeah, he was a very good player. Yeah, and unfortunately, July 4th, his son will be committing to Notre Dame, even though Jermichael Finley said over his dead body. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Thomas Davis's son committed to Notre Dame this class too. I don't know. They're snatching
taking on the
legacies.
He's doing well. So let's go on this real quick. This is obviously really early. Who do you think holds the advantage in this matchup? I'll let you guys go first.
Let me think. I think
go ahead.
It's tough because I think the thing that gave Georgia such a huge advantage in this matchup last year was its pass rush with Jalen Walker and Michael Williams, both probably having their best performances as Georgia Bulldogs against Texas. And those guys, not only are those guys gone, Elo Mendoza will probably be a plus starter, but like aside from that, you don't really know if your pass rush is going to be very good. And I think it's safe to say it is not going to be as good as last year. I think you can just kind of come out and say that already. So I don't know, but still, I think I still have to go with Georgia having the advantage only because I think Arch Manning is going to be a good quarterback. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback, but we just haven't seen him yet. And, Georgia just has more established players, I think, in this matchup because Texas is replacing 4 starters on the line and, Matthew Golden at receiver and Isaiah Bond and everybody.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting is it's a very unproven versus unproven matchup. I guess I have to go give Georgia the edge just because of how much better Georgia played against Texas than anyone else. Like it was just kind of weird. And yeah, maybe Elo Mendoza is a good player, but I don't know what the wins above replacement difference is between a good player and the butt kiss award winner that's getting picked top 15. You know,
I think that's fair. And going on the road, like Athens is a really tough place to play. They're going to be freaking rabid. It's probably going to be a night game. It's probably going to be all sorts of it's going to be hell for the kid. Like I think Georgia has a lot. We'll find out what Arch has between the ears, I think, but for darn sure pretty quick.
Yeah, I would give Georgia the advantage. Like they terrorized us last year. So,
yeah.
And that's the thing too. Your defensive line may not be as good, but I don't think our offensive line may not be as good. I will say I do like the pieces, but I would give you the advantage. You proved it twice last year. It's hard for me to say, third time's the charm. Texas is just going to be much better this year. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys the advantage there.
And the fact that it's later in the season, right? It's like October, November, right?
November.
So you all should be those freshmen should be well established by then.
We don't know who's gonna be
That's a
healthy
good
though.
point.